Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to the 100th episode of TechNow, the webinar dedicated to debuting all of the hottest new ServiceNow features for admins and developers alike. For the next hour, prepare yourself for not only to learning about all of these amazing new offerings, but also see them demoed by the product team members that really help bring them to life. But before we dive into the content, let's introduce the phenomenal team that has made this show happen. And I don't just say that because it is my team. Now, since the last time we hosted the TechNow webinar, our team has grown substantially in size, so we can't do really deep intros into everybody, but that doesn't mean that we can't give y'all a brief showcase of our names. So I'll kick things off. Hello, my name is Lori McManaman.
Hi, everyone. My name is Earl Duque.
I'm Christy Marion.
Hi, Alan Andreas.
And I'm Travis Tolson.
Hey, I'm Laszlo Bola.
And we are all senior developer advocates here at ServiceNow. It's very convenient that we all have the same title, very easy to remember. You know, what does that really mean, though? Our purpose at ServiceNow is simply that, to really advocate for you as our developer community. We do that in a variety of ways. To start out, as evident by this live stream, we seek to help keep developers enabled on all the latest and greatest technology that ServiceNow has to offer. We also host amazing events like CreatorCon, the recent CreatorCon in India, developer meetups, and soon even parts of the ServiceNow Snug or user group program as well, to really help instill a sense of community and fun within all these more technical roles. And then lastly, through programs like the MVP program and Rising Stars, we really seek to uplift the amazing work that y'all are consistently doing. But that is enough about us. It is time to dive into why y'all really came, TechNow. But before we begin, however, we do have a couple of brief reminders as well as promos, so stick with me for a few minutes here. First and foremost, ServiceNow releases are massive. If you detail out every single little thing for every single product, we couldn't get through that full list in an hour, even if we were auctioneers. I say that because we are only discussing features relevant to, as I said before, admins and developers. That means no things like ITSM, HR, CSM, etc. will be covered. You can always follow up, though, with product documentation to see what's being featured in those for Zurich. Second, like you, we are technical people here at ServiceNow. We are not your sales folks, so no pricing nor licensing will be covered. We are just sticking to functionality. Lastly, as you can tell, this is a live show, meaning we'll be doing our best to answer your live questions in the Q&A chat window. Let me be clear, Q&A, not attendee chat. We're not really keeping our eyes on that, just the Q&A window. But also let me set a couple of expectations. We did not build these products. We've had a little bit more information on them than y'all, but we really don't have access to them yet either. So our knowledge is growing. We will do our best to answer your questions, but no guarantees just yet. To expand upon what we will be covering, here is a quick summary of the main beats of the show. In between these larger segments, there will be additional updates to the other facets of the platform that we will be covering, but these are the really 5 big pinnacle moments that are being highlighted today. So get excited for that. You thought we were about to start, but again, I mentioned we have a couple of promos. So if you really like the interactivity of this live stream, may I turn your attention to the fact that 3 of my amazing teammates are live coding bi-weekly. Our episodes of what's called Live Coding Appy Hour, hosted by Christy, Earl, and Travis, all spend an hour or two hacking away at problems that really suit their fancy. This can include functionality coming out in Zurich, but it more so revolves around hot topics that they personally enjoy investigating and diving into. You can visit devlink.sn/lchh or Live Coding Happy Hour for a full list of these existing episodes and subscribe to our YouTube channel, ServiceNow Dev Program, to be notified when they are happening. If you've enjoyed the sound of my voice yapping the past 5 or so minutes, may I also turn your attention to the Breakpoint podcast. The Breakpoint talks about all the latest tools, tips, and tradecraft needed to make you the best ServiceNow developer you could possibly be. You can join me to hear about product features, career stories, non-technical skills, and you can find this where any place podcasts are provided, be it the Apple Podcast, Google Play, Spotify, and then additionally also on our YouTube channel at devlink.sn/breakpoint. And if all of that isn't enough, we also have Alan's awesome show, Ask the Experts. This is yet another webinar series starring the real stars of the ServiceNow community. yourselves. This show hosts real-life topic experts from across the ServiceNow ecosystem to deliver all of their knowledge straight from the source. Finally, just a quick reminder to our App Engine users out there, we are working to gather peer reviews for ServiceNow's App Engine product. It's very important. Think of this like the Yelp or Google review for software. And it's very simple. You just need to go to the QR code on the screen, or you can go to devlink.sn/G2 TechNow, spend anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes to write a review. And to make it better, you will be rewarded for this effort with a $25 Amazon gift card. So we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Now, anyone knows that when they see the safe harbor slide, things are about to get good. Obviously, this webinar is being delivered on July 31st, 2025, aka the early access date for Zurich. Items shown here may change before general availability later in the quarter, especially if the features we are discussing appear in the later store releases. Purchasing decisions based on the information carried today has inherent risks, so please be wise going into any decision making based off of today's presentation. Now it is finally time. Let us explore the Zurich release. And I am so thrilled that I get to kick things off with a nice little blanket announcement. Dark mode has been the favorite feature of a lot of our common developers, but we've been integrating it into our UIs procedurally. So it's not been available in every single facet. I'm happy to announce that as of Zurich, we have 3 new additions to the dark mode family. We have ServiceNow Studio, we have our playbook designer, and we also have mobile app builder. All right, time to pivot to another awesome advocate on our team. Take it away, Alan Andreas.
Thank you so much, Lauren. So ServiceNow Studio, what originally started in the Geneva release, has evolved into one of the most powerful tools on the ServiceNow AI platform. You can make cross-scope edits with ease, manage your update sets, use Now Assist to generate an app summary, and much more, all within one unified interface. So what's next for Zurich? Let's spend a few minutes with Andrew Barnes to learn more.
I'm so excited to be with you here today to show you some of the really cool things that we've got coming up for you in the Zurich release for ServiceNow Studio. So I've got ServiceNow Studio loaded here in what is a very common scenario for developers, which is I'm working in more than one scope at a time. So I'm in the performance review flow, which is in this annual compliance review scope. And I've got that context over here on the left, but I also have this other table that I now need to go work on some related items to it. And this is in another scope. It's in the free Donut Friday scope. And so what we've added here in Zurich for you is the ability to right click on that tab and say show in file navigator. And so what this is going to do is load this file navigator in the context of that metadata item so that I can see all of the things from Free Donut Fridays and where this table is in there. And what this is able to do for me is show me that, I've been switching my contexts a bunch today, and I now realize that I've loaded this and I see that the table disappears table isn't supposed to be here for the work that I'm doing today. So that's going to let me show you the next really cool feature that we have in Zurich for you is source control. So in order to access source control, I'm going to open the app details of the application that I want to interact with source control with. So I open up this app details page, and you'll actually see another sneaky feature I've added in here for you, which is a revamped app details page that really uplifts this experience and focuses you to the most important things for this application. So you can see just the featured files, you can see all of them, you can filter them, you can see the ones that have been most recently updated. So we've got a nice uplifted experience for you. But the key thing I wanted to show you was in the top right, we now have this source control UI action, and that's going to allow me to access all of those great source control features that I have been leveraging previously that weren't in ServiceNow Studio. So I'm going to actually create a new branch and say, this is my Friday work. And I have to not have a space in it. So I'm going to hit create branch, and this is going to reach out to source control and create this new branch and switch me into that branch. And so now I can work on the right context for my free Friday donut with my performance review and get my work done. And this is just some of the really cool features we've got for you in ServiceNow Studio for Zurich. And we're excited to have even more coming in the future.
All right, so thank you very much, Andrew. Those are some big wins for the developer community. Being able to quickly display where a file exists within an app using File Navigator Focus and leveraging an enhanced version of the app details page will help us maintain strategic visibility into our apps. But the star of the show is definitely all about source control. Nearly all developers were really excited about ServiceNow Studio previously, but if anyone was on the fence before, this will surely seal the deal. And with that, Lauren, what shall we talk about next?
Did you miss me yet? Well, allow me to tee up our next big topic, the ServiceNow IDE. Paired with ServiceNow Studio, as well as Creator Studio, it is an alternate place to create and edit existing applications. The IDE, however, is where developers can do this using the SDK, aka Fluent, to do so. This tool has made some major waves in the community of pro coders transitioning either from full stack development or other platforms to ServiceNow. And I cannot wait for y'all to see what they have cooking up in Zurich. So let's dive in and see.
Today, I'm going to demonstrate how you can build and deploy a fully functional ServiceNow application from scratch in just a few minutes without writing a single line of code. We'll be using the new build agent in ServiceNow IDE. We'll start here in the IDE. In the build agent chat panel, I'll simply describe what I want in plain English. Create a simple to-do task tracker application. Name it Simple To Do. It should have a UI page, and it should add a completion date to a task when the task is marked completed. With that simple prompt, the agent begins its work. Right now, the agent is analyzing my request. It understands the ServiceNow development context and is creating a step-by-step plan. As you can see, the agent has proposed a plan. It will create a custom table, a business rule, and a UI page for the user interface. This gives me full visibility and control into what the plan is. I'll approve the plan and the build agent gets to work. Now we're seeing the agent perform autonomous full stack code generation. It's building everything we need for this application on the platform. It starts by creating a well-structured directory, following platform's all the best practices. It generates the application's definition using Fluent code, a domain-specific language. This makes the code base easy to understand and manage and follow all the modern development practices as well. Next, it creates the business rule to handle the core logic of our application we talked about. This is where it adds the completion date and when the status is marked completed. And then it moves to the front end, generating a modern UI with React components. It even automatically creates the service class to connect the UI to our backend data table using Fetch API. It's a complete end-to-end build. You can see it's making calls to get all the tasks from the table, create task, edit task, update task, delete task, all of this all wired up now. It's autonomously installing the dependencies the application also needs. You don't have to do anything here. And before deploying, the agent automatically compiles the code to ensure there are no errors. And once it validates it, it prompts me and asks for next step to install the application. So I've got all these files created in one go autonomously. And with one click, the application will be installed on the instance now. So now the agent provides a clear summary of everything it created, a custom table, a business rule, and a fully functional UI page with complete CRUD capabilities wired up with the table. Let's look at the results. Here in the Explorer, we can see our new table, business rule, UI page, it's all there. Now let's test the app. Let's open our UI page. So this is my interface. It's super clean and functional. I can see all the fields a task needs. I'll add my first task to the task tracker. The task is created and appears in the task list. Now let's check out the custom table in our backend to make sure this task is also added there. And there it is. I can see the task I just added from the UI page. Let's quickly update our task and to see if the update functionality also works here. Click update and we'll go and check the custom table. And I can see my task is updated here as well. The UI is perfectly in sync with the backend here. Now you can see all the files created here with just one simple prompt for this application. But development is rarely a one-shot process. This is where the power of Build Agent comes in. You not only create new applications, but you can also do edits on existing applications. I'm going back here to the agent and asking to make some UI polish changes. I don't like the buttons, it's so close, and we can do some polish work on the item of the task. So the agent understands the subjective feedback. It will identify the relevant UI components and all the files and begin modifying them to improve the design for my ask. It then recompiles the new changes and gets it ready to deploy the update on the instance. I'll approve the deploy command, and now the agent deploys the changes. Going back to our UI page to see the changes we just deployed. And look at that, our UI is more polished now, the buttons are restyled, and we have some smooth animations as well. I'll quickly add a new task to show that all the original functionality is still perfectly intact. And I can see that new task here in the table as well. Now for the business logic, I'll mark this task as complete and notice the completion date will show up. The business rule the agent created works perfectly fine. I can also do this from the UI page. We can see the mark completion date is also added here. Let's add a new task and mark it complete. And now I should see a completion date. Perfect. So you can see it's completely in sync with the backend and it works from both sides. So let's recap what we just saw. In just a few minutes, the ServiceNow Build Agent understood a natural language prompt to build the full stack applications on the platform, autonomously generated the custom table, business rule, and a modern React frontend, handled the entire build, compilation, and installation process, and responded to the conversational feedback to iteratively improve the application. This is the future of ServiceNow development, faster, more intuitive, and more powerful than ever before. Thank you.
Awesome stuff. So obviously, to anyone who attended the CreatorCon keynote, the belle of the ball was Zurich's Build Agents. So thank you to Panshu for that demo. And if you'd like to hear more from me about how Build Agents came and also the future plans for them, we actually already have an episode filmed of the Breakpoint podcast that heavily covers this feature. So it's waiting for you after this recording is completed if you'd like to see that. As we all know, that's not the only thing that exists for the ServiceNow IDE. The fun does not stop there. We also have Fluent and the additional plugins being made to its library. So just so that you know, as we are consistently adding on to the SDK, we also have forms, UI pages, scheduled jobs, UI actions, script includes, service portals, and menus that are all also available to be created using Fluent. So be sure to try this out as soon as it is available on your PDIs. Now, onward to another person whose name starts with an L, Laszlo, to carry on the ball for UI Builder.
Oh, that's all right. Apparently, Lauren was pretty eager to have me show you the latest in UI Builder. And, you know, I admit there's been a bit of a learning curve, but one thing's for sure. The team behind the product has been working real hard to make it not just more powerful, but more easy to use with every single release. And trust me, Zurich is no exception. It really brings some great enhancements to further streamline the builder experience. But don't just listen to me talk about it. Let's check out a quick demo from Gabby to get a glimpse of what's new.
Hello, everybody. I am super excited to introduce you to a brand new feature in UI Builder as of the Zurich release. We are calling it Component Builder. We're going to go ahead and click on Create and Component. We're going to call it Stopwatch. Now, this is going to look a lot like what you're used to seeing UI Builder as. It's going to have the same stage. We still have the same content tree in the top left corner. We still have our data script, but now we have a couple of new drawers down here that expand and collapse. We have the properties and policies and the events down here. Here you're able to see the dispatched events, any handled events, along with any component properties that we create. Speaking of component properties, let's go ahead and add one. So I want to have a loading animation, and I am going to select a string property to use. I am going to go into the configuration property in the top right corner here, and I'm going to name it SVG image source, and we will add a default value of animated dino.svg. Going to go ahead and hit save. Next, we're going to add in the basic layout of our component. And let's go ahead and create some of the client state parameters that we're going to need. Going to go ahead and add down here client state parameters. We're going to hit apply and hit save again. So now we're going back to our stylized text component, and we're going to change the text, and we're going to use our dynamic data binding to set it to be one of our client state parameters, elapsed time. So now we can see how long has been running. So next, we're going to go ahead and we are going to add a container inside of the container. I am going to click on Add Content, Flexbox, and then I'm going to add the conditional renderer component. I am going to select a single component, going to hit Next, and I am going to look for a button iconic and hit Next. I want the component label to be start, component ID, start, button. And this is going to be our always condition, which should be the one at the very, very bottom. I'm going to add another condition. And this time I'm going to do a empty container. And it's going to be basically the same. We're going to name this one running container. And we're going to set when the condition is data bind. We're going to go to client states and we're going to do stopwatch running. And now we've got our different conditions. Next, we're going to add in the logic of our component. I'm going to create a couple of client scripts. I'm going to add in the start. I'm going to hit apply and hit save. And then I'm going to add in the stop, apply, and then save. Next, we're going to go to our buttons and we're going to add our conditions. So I'm going to select the start button. I'm going to go to events, and when the button is clicked, I want to run my start script. I'm going to hit add. And then when this button is clicked, I want to do the stop. And then one last finishing touch. I went ahead and added an icon up here at the top. I am going to data bind it to our component property for SVG image source. And now we have our little dinosaur. And finally, we're going to go ahead and do one really cool thing is we're going to go into component visibility for the icon. I am going to click on bind data or use scripts, and I'm going to generate data binding with Now Assist. I want Now Assist to make it so the dinosaur only shows up if stopwatch running is false. So I'm going to go ahead and type in here if stopwatch running false. I'm going to hit enter. We're going to go ahead and click accept and edit, hit apply, and hit save. And now we're going to preview our component. And now when we click start, we get our little dinosaur running. Going to hit stop. And now it's recorded the amount of time that we have been on this call. And that's it. We have created our first component building component. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your tech now. Goodbye.
Thank you, Gabby. I mean, Component Builder is a true game changer. Up until now, if you wanted to bring in custom components, you had to rely on CLI, but now everybody can create reusable UI components in a low-code environment. And not just that, you can configure them with properties and have them dispatch events to your pages. And if you look close enough, you're able to catch Cabby using data binding generation towards the end. This feature lets developers write data binding logic for their components in plain language and have that converted into valid formula syntax, reducing any errors and boosting their productivity. Now we've got some more. For example, custom fonts. You can now upload up to 10 custom font families in Theme Builder to create consistency across your user experiences and enhance the overall platform usability in alignment with your own branding. And speaking of Theme Builder, there is a new theme we're calling Coral, and all new customers launching on Zurich will have it set as the default on their instance. Now, we talked about building components just now, but there's more. You can use Now Assist Skill Kit to create GenAI skills and leverage them directly in UI Builder components and pages, making it a lot more accessible to developers. And just a few more. Let me start with conversational help, which you can now access right within UI Builder in order to get answers to development-related questions, ideally minimizing the need for you to search external sites. The latest Builder Assistant enhancements bring some performance rules in order to help you detect and fix issues affecting page load times and functionality. And finally, with the Zurich release, threaded replies are coming to sidebar chat. Users can now reply directly to individual messages and start a thread. But that's not all. It supports Microsoft Teams and Slack integration, so replies from these platforms are also visible directly in sidebar. And for any on-the-go teams, this functionality is now fully mobile-friendly, providing a consistent experience across devices. Now, speaking of mobile, let's hear from Alan about what's new in Mobile App Builder.
Thanks, Laszlo. So previously, if you wanted to have a similar layout of a web form, like an incident record you'd see on the platform within mobile, you'd have to rebuild that entire experience. Now, no more duplicative configuration. You'll be able to use Mobile App Builder's web-to-mobile feature to quickly transform ServiceNow web forms into a native mobile experience. And to go one step further, for customers with Now Assist, you'll be able to leverage our Gen AI feature to build optimized mobile versions of existing web components easily. And there's something else new for mobile. Our customers wanted a plug-and-play solution to embed a Gen AI-powered self-service experience within their third-party mobile app. And with Zurich, you can achieve that goal. You'll now see a new admin-guided setup option that will allow you to enable Now Assist Chat for the mobile SDK. Now, let's talk about testing. Last year at Knowledge, we conducted a survey that revealed that over 50% of you are still doing manual testing. One of the reasons we've heard is that some of you struggle to get started. You're looking for examples. Our answer? Quick Start Tests, otherwise known as QSTs. Now, these were introduced several releases ago, but maybe this is the first time that you're hearing about them. QSTs enable you to efficiently validate the functionality and reliability of your instance following upgrades or configuration changes. For Zurich, the team worked overtime to bring you 56 more QSTs to support you across a wide range of products that features such as Service Graph Connector, Discovery, Employee Center, Vulnerability Response, and HR Service Delivery. With a huge range of industry-leading test examples available, we hope this helps even more of you get started.
So after all that ATF goodness, you've written your tests, you've validated your flows, and everything's passing with flying colors. What happens next? Well, how about building even smarter, faster workflows to test in the first place? Zurich is bringing some really great updates to Workflow Studio, and to walk us through them, we've got Lisa Holenstein, one of the driving forces behind the experience. So let's take a look at what's new.
Hi everyone, I am here with you today to walk you through all the cool enhancements and new features for workflow automation. On enhanced schedule triggers. You can now schedule flows using reusable schedule triggers with more flexibility than ever. Define the start date, time, and time zone, then choose from new recurrence options, like running automations on the first Friday of each month, annually on July 1st, or quarterly on the last day of a month. For our demo, I'm creating a reusable trigger definition to save work for future me. Once I've picked the time zone and start date and time, I define this one to run every month on the fourth Monday of each. Once I save and publish my trigger, I can use it in any flow from the installed application category, and all flows that use this trigger will inherit any changes made. On external webhook triggers, you can now create your own custom webhook-like triggers to use to run your flows and subflows. To create an external trigger, you first have to set up an event source. Webhook authentication can be either basic username and password, OAuth, hash, or authorization token. In this example, I chose token, and I am now prompted to choose the settings for the token and where I expect to receive it, either in the headers or query parameters. Next, I am creating a reusable webhook trigger that uses the event source that I just set up. At this stage, I am also prompted to configure any further details for this webhook, like trigger output, request header inputs, query parameters, and a body that expects a JSON payload. We can provide an example JSON so that the flow will later know which data fields to expect. There are a couple more details that might need to be configured, for example, a web service user if you're opting for basic authentication, etc. But I hope this demo gives you a useful first look at how these webhook triggers can be used. Check out the product documentation for more details. On flow history. Flow history is probably one of the highest voted and most anticipated features we've added to flows in a while. With the Zurich release, we have a new side panel on the right that we can open to see any autosaved, published, deactivated, or current session versions of the flow or subflow we're currently viewing. When clicking on one of these versions, we can look at it, restore it, save as copy, or add an annotation. Any restored version will be added to the top of the version stack, so you can immediately see when the flow was reverted. On subflow generation from image. In my example, I have a hand-drawn subflow to change a user's location. To showcase the other enhancement for this demo, I am adding a text prompt to provide info on the subflow's inputs and outputs. If you haven't seen the hashtag feature yet, you can use this to specify precisely which tables should be used if there are multiple tables with similar display names on your instance. After providing both the image and a text prompt, we now wait for the subflow to be generated. First, it'll translate the image into an outline, including the try logic to capture possible errors. Next, it attempts to fill all steps with data fields and conditions, another enhancement introduced earlier this year. Once all of this is done, we can evaluate the preview if necessary, adjust the prompt, and regenerate it. Once we are happy with this subflow, we can save to edit it in the designer. Let's quickly check if our inputs and outputs are set up correctly. And indeed, we have two reference inputs for user and location as prompted, as well as an integer and string output. Thank you so much. Bye.
All right, let's recap what we saw from Lisa. She showed us flow history, which gives us the ability to view and restore earlier versions of your flow, which is perfect for things like quick iteration and recovery. We saw reusable schedule triggers that introduce an Outlook-style scheduling system with time zone support and start and end date parameters, so no more scripting your way around those basic triggers. And of course, one of my favorites, we saw generate subflow from image, where you can literally drop a diagram into Workflow Studio and build out the have it build out the subflow structure for you. Such a cool feature, in my opinion. We saw external webhook triggers that let you kick off flows from outside systems with a very simple webhook, so there's no heavy lifting required. And while we didn't have time to cover all of these in the video, I felt like they were definitely worth covering here. We had a playbook trigger enhancements, which now support multiple trigger types and scheduled queries, giving you even more control over how your playbooks are run. And finally, we've enhanced playbook permissions to give you finer-grained access control, both at build time and runtime, because not everybody needs the keys to every single stage. And we're not done there, because I know everyone loves Workflow Studio just as much as I do, so we have even more features that we want to showcase. Now, if you're doing any scripting inside of your flows, you'll be happy to see that Flow Debugger is now just a click away, making it so much easier to troubleshoot your logic without having to jump between tools. And if you prefer working with your own AI models, you can use external LLM support, where you can now generate flows and playbooks using the large language model of your choice, not just the built-in Now LLM. We've also added smarter playbook capabilities like send email with data pills and text, so your notifications from playbooks are more flexible. And conversational subflows and actions now support bulk configuration and follow-up logic, which makes it great for building smarter chatbot experiences faster. And lastly, if you like the idea of flow history we talked about before, you'll really appreciate the Save As You Go update, where flows now open in read-only mode by default, so you can explore them without risk, and changes are saved as you go. But building workflows is only part of the story, because in Zurich, we're also making it easier to build together. I've seen some questions about this in chat, so pay attention. This is all without stepping on each other's toes and each other's work. And that's right, we're talking about developer sandboxes. Now, if you joined us for TechNow Yokohama, you might remember that we gave an early look at dev sandboxes, but with Zurich, this highly anticipated feature is now generally available, and it is a game changer. We've all been there doing development work, working in the same environment, accidentally overriding someone's update, breaking something mid-build, or just getting in each other's way. Well, dev sandboxes promise to fix that. So now each developer can spin up an isolated environment with the same instance, build independently, and merge all those changes back using source control. It's a clean, conflict-free way to work, and it brings modern DevOps practices right into the ServiceNow ecosystem. If you want to see a full workflow in action, check out our Creator Toolbox episode hosted by none other than Mr. Travis Tolson. And speaking of Travis, I'm going to hand it over to him to walk through what's new in Release Ops. Travis?
Thanks, Christy. Now, if you're geeking out with me over branching and merging in sandboxes, then you're going to love Release Ops. Release Ops is the new way to deploy your update sets across ServiceNow environments, complete with built-in quality checks, risk profiles, and improved governance to simplify release coordination. Initially, Release Ops will only be accessible through UI 16, but in Zurich Release 2, Release Ops will be integrated into the App Engine Management Center, giving us this comprehensive dashboard view. From here, we can manage the entire lifecycle of our custom applications. We can see all our pending requests with insights into deployment status, developer activity, and apps in production. The release timeline at the bottom shows us exactly where each release stands, and we get real-time visibility into what's happening across our entire deployment pipeline. This level of visibility is something we've needed for a long time. The release management view is where Release Ops really shines. We can see deployment requests flowing through different states, from draft to ready to assess, through assessing and reconciling, and all the way down to ready to deploy. And notice the freeze date warning. The system automatically manages code freezes and ensures only deployment requests that are truly ready to make it into the release. We also get insights into the quality of the release through the deployment analyzer, which allows us to check things like instance scans and the results of ATF tests related to the deployment. And finally, the playbook automation is what makes all of this possible. Release Ops uses playbooks to automate the entire deployment process, giving you the ability to customize that process to reflect your team's needs. This automation reduces our manual effort while increasing reliability and giving everyone, developers, admins, and process owners, the visibility we need to collaborate effectively. Yay, it's finally my turn. Okay,
Now let's switch gears to a more general overview of Now Assist for Creator and look at some additional generative AI skills for the platform. And here to talk in depth is Robert Ninnes.
Thanks, everyone. I can't believe we're at Zurich already. I'm wearing my Eureka t-shirt in celebration that we've finished the alphabet. Now Assist for Creator has a huge release for Q3 in Zurich coming up. We've got a new agentic builder experience within ServiceNow IDE. We've got a bunch of new UI builder skills like data binding generation and bringing conversational help into UI builder. And process mining has a number of new skills to help with process analysis and work notes analysis. We're bringing conversational help into UI builder and making it easier for developers to bring AI skills into their pages. Process mining analysis will chain into playbook generation, and process analysts will be able to directly create playbooks from within process mining. And finally, when you're generating subflows using flow generation, the inputs and outputs will now be created along with any mapping of those properties throughout the flow. Customers have been asking us for ages, will this run on Now LLM? Where does my data go? Who's processing it? And so we want to create really good visibility on which models your skills are using and provide you choice. You'll now be able to choose from a platform level within AI Control Tower which models you're going to make available to your skill admins. And Now Assist for Creator is supporting all of them. So I'm happy to announce that if you're only approved to run AI skills and agents within Now LM, you'll be able to do so. In general, all of the skills in Now Assist for Creator will have a default LLM, which we recommend, which will be where you'll get the best accuracy, but you'll be able to choose which model you want to use. I, like many of our other developers, are embracing vibe coding. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Using generative AI to help us get started, to understand new software packages, APIs, to give us advice. And that kind of experience, that conversational, mentorship, collaborative experience with an AI agent is something that we're bringing into ServiceNow IDE. So our build agent will help you reduce the friction of getting started on new development tasks. When you get stuck, it'll also help you get unstuck by providing advice, by generating code snippets for you, and you'll be able to, challenge those decisions and hopefully have a really good learning experience when writing code and building fluent apps in ServiceNow IDE. So in UI Builder, when you have a data source and you want to bind data from that data source to a component property or a page property, you often need to transform that data because it's not always in the correct format. So you might have the data being presented from the data source as an array, but you only want to take the first array, the first item from the array or the last array, or like transform it to a string or something like that. So we've introduced a new skill within UI Builder to help you build those formulas from natural language. Whenever I'm learning something new, I find myself using generative AI more and more rather than Google and trolling through search results. I find that I can approach my learning in a way where I treat the LLM as somebody who knows more than me, and I can ask them questions. I can ask them for advice rather than having to go into like a deep analytical research, opening up 50 tabs for the first, trying to find answers to questions that I have. And conversational help is a platform feature that we're bringing into UI Builder to help support that type of learning. UI Builder, it has a steep learning curve. We do admit that. And for new developers using UI Builder, we want to support their learning by allowing them to ask questions and get targeted answers. And we want to bring this type of experience to all of our builders. So we're starting with UI Builder, but we're hoping that this experience will be one that people really embrace.
Nice. Thanks, Robert. So Now Assist for Creator is throughout the platform. Earlier, Gabby and Laszlo talked about the UI Builder skills that we are gaining in Zurich, which is also part of Now Assist for Creator licenses. But I'm particularly excited about what Robert was talking about, being able to choose models for all the different skills. I think I might be a little obsessed with all these generative AI capabilities, considering I use the Now LLM, Gemini, Claude, Cursor, Perplexity, etc. almost daily. I actually might have a problem. But being able to choose sounds really great to me. And these skills are coming out almost every other month now. It's no longer tied to the semi-annual schedule of releases like Zurich, Yokohama, and stuff, or even the quarterly store releases. So always keep an eye out for what new generative AI skills are being made available to you by checking out your Now Assist admin console.
Well, thank you so much, Earl, and thank you to our amazing audience. This actually wraps up the presentation part of TechNow. What an awesome way to end the show. And also a wonderful way to round out the alphabet. So if you couldn't tell, I'm a huge fan of the way a certain fruit-related technology company kind of summarizes their releases in a nice kind of graphic. I want to put something out there that felt deserving of Zurich and all the awesome improvements being made. Now, luckily, we've got a couple of minutes here to address some questions. So team, were there any questions that you saw worth highlighting for the entire audience?
You mean out of the hundreds of questions that were submitted?
That is true. We have been, especially Earl's, and really digging through a lot of these questions. I did happen to see one off the top of the dome. So for PDIs, a lot of questions about these personal developer instances, basically free trial instances we offer. Lots of questions on what's available, what's not. Off the top of my head, I know that our three builders, being Studio, Creator Studio, and the IDE, are all available on the PDIs, but anything AI related, so that is anything that is related to Now Assist, the builder agents, for example, none of those would be available on a PDI. Any other highlights of what is or is not on a PDI?
I mean, that's usually the main thing. Is the AI stuff is always a conversation, so we're always exploring it. We're not shying away from that conversation, and we want it to happen, so that hopefully will come one day. One of the other questions I saw, there was a lot of IDE questions, and one of the particular questions was someone said, wait, is this a conversion from XML to Fluent in terms of how updates are managed? Actually, no. So all the things that happen in ServiceNow IDE or even app generation stuff still create the XML metadata so that it's compatible with all of your other ways of moving files around, like update sets or source control, and still compatible for the normal platform. But the Fluent side of things is a framework of metadata built on top of that. So it's an addition to. Anyone else got another question? There are a lot of actually very nuanced questions that are actually really great because that means our builder and creator and developer audiences watching. I saw one question about, hey, I saw you convert a JPEG. They watch Lisa convert a JPEG into a subflow, and the question was, can that just create a flow? And that's a very good nuanced question. We don't necessarily know the answers to those very nuanced questions, but we know the product managers, and we'll make sure to get these kind of questions over to them so that they can make sure that they're being answered in some way or form.
Yeah, the nice thing about this is when the webinar is over, we will get an exported list of the questions, especially the ones that we did not answer. And so we can try to work with those teams to get them answered and have them maybe as blog posts or other additional content. So another reason to keep an eye out in the next couple of weeks. Also, a lot of questions about when the PDI will be available. I'll be covering that here in just a second, so stay tuned for that information.
And somebody asked about documentation and updates on Now Learning. I don't know if we have specific dates for that. I believe Docs in general is going to be rolling out real soon. And Now Learning, that's a different story, I believe. Some courses are getting updated over the next weeks and months. Not necessarily everything, but I guess for most of the courses it goes that whenever there's enough updates, they would eventually get updated on ServiceNow University.
Yeah, I believe for documentation, release test, release notes are already out. And then the rest follows the release dates. So early availability release will usually come with more release notes, and then general availability for the rest. And I think ServiceNow University follows a similar cadence to that. They match it to the EA and GA dates, and so they're usually updating those things pretty fast, actually.
And somebody asked if Zurich was the last release, which not a technical question, but no, it is not the last release. We're going to start over at A.
Goodbye forever. No.
Yeah, nope, that's not the end. That's not the end.
No, we're just
I did see a question.
Alphabet.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying we're just starting over, top of the list at A for the next one.
The last
Which isn't a
year.
surprise anymore, right? Everyone knows it's Australia.
It's Australia, yeah.
Is it?
Oh, reveal. One question I saw, someone did ask, and I think we get this question pretty often, is UI Builder supposed to replace Service Portal? And the answer is no. And it does certain things better and does certain things not as better. So there is an article floating around, I believe by Brad Tilton, that you can search for that talks about when to use UI Builder versus when to use Service Portal still. And that is always changing as they release more things for UI Builder to get to parity or to pass Service Portal.
And I saw actually, oh, sorry. I had seen a question super early in the chat about a migration utility for workflow to Flow Designer. I don't know if it was answered because I was too busy making sure I was hitting the mute button when I needed to and like clicking slides. But I know that there is a really good article out on Platform Academy that I think Lisa and maybe Andrew did together that has some best practices about migrating from Workflow Editor to Flow Designer. Because to my knowledge, there isn't an official migration utility as of yet, unless that's changed and I'm not aware. I didn't think so. So
if it's an out-of-box workflow, the product teams are working to move those individually and manually at a time.
Yes. Correct. Yes.
How in Zurich, they're all moved, I believe. So we're getting rid of workflows.
I had heard that rumor, but I didn't know if it was true or not.
I wasn't confident.
I've heard it from product managers. I think it's pretty safe, but safe harbor anyway. But blame it on me if I'm wrong. But I'm confident.
You heard it here, everyone. Blame it on Laszlo.
Probably time for one more question, team. Anything else that we'd like to?
There was
one more slide.
There was a question on release ops about whether or not release ops would work with UAT deployments, and the answer is yes. Within release ops, you will be able to set up and configure your deployment pipelines, and then through playbooks, control the automation of those pipelines. So whether you're using UATs or if you want to deploy to sandboxes, you'll be able to set all of that up in release ops.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for your questions. A lot of them came in as we started the Q&A, so I apologize if we did not get to your question, but we will get an exported list and we will use that in turn to help also create our content. So, at the end of the day, that was a fantastic TechNow experience, but oftentimes it can leave people feeling a bit overwhelmed with not only all this information, but kind of questioning, where do you even go from here? The first is upgrade your PDI. So lots of people were talking about PDIs being personal developer instances. Currently, they are available on Yokohama, but everybody knows that on EA, aka today, is traditionally when PDIs also become available in Zurich. I just checked a few minutes ago. They're not quite live yet. It's usually within 24 hours of this broadcast. Do not hold me to it. That is just an estimate. But I will try to also post on LinkedIn when that is the case. Second, follow our blog. So like we keep mentioning, TechNow is the beginning of our season on Zurich, not the end. So every topic that we lightly and very lightly covered today, we are going massively deeper into through videos, live streams, podcasts, blog posts, you name it. So follow our blog at devlink.sn/blog. Or if you're specifically interested in the overall content archive, that would be devlink.sn/Zurich. Finally, We are interested in your experience with Zurich. So post on the community, share on LinkedIn, tell us what you think of these products, because one of the things I've loved about ServiceNow as a company, back when I was a customer until now, is how much they truly listen to people. We want to hear your experiences, especially with these newer additions and newer features. So tell us your experience, play around with them, and let us know what we can do to continuously strive for greatness here at ServiceNow. So with that being said, everybody, thank you so much for joining us here for TechNow today. Stay hungry, stay humble, and we will see you in the next broadcast. Have a great day.